Bunasera Tuti, I bring you greetings from Pakistan. This remarkable conference convened by the World Around and Foundation Cartier in this amazing historic city of Milano, with its beautiful, discreet, elegant environments and wonderfully designed products that would take your breath away. This is the city of Politecnico di Milano. The more than, that's the one that took the brave step of awarding the coveted honorary degree to a woman in its history of 158 years, and that too, to a woman of color, and labeled me with my favorite title, Architect for the Poorest of the Poor. So good that Professor Dr. Ilaria Valente and Professor Cassandra Cozza, along with students of the university, are here today who work dedicatedly to further the cause of my zero carbon methodologies. They're the first university that did that. And I'm delighted to be here because the topic is concerned with the health of the planet, which to me reads as repair the planet and at the same time heal humanity. For me, both must go hand in hand. And also to achieve success in endeavors such as this, it is the power of design that will transform people's lives. The more meager the resources, the more attention is needed to create well-designed environments. For me, it is such a privilege to be here among a gathering of eco-warriors, conscious of the damage caused to the planet, and wishing to moderate that harm that has been inflicted so far. So thank you, Beatrice Galilei and Beatrice Grenier, and your two wonderful, sensitive organizations for making me part of this really timely discourse, and for your hospitality and care lavished on me, a traveler from far-off lands. I believe each one of us around the world has to play her role. Global North, by abandoning capitalist modes of eco-indulgence, excessive consumption, and eco-bigotry. And equally, the Global South, that must focus on the ills that threaten development, poor governance, social injustices, and high poverty levels, to name a few, factors that restrict human development and advancement of human values. A couple of years ago, I had said in my manifesto published in London's Design magazine, and I believe Nat Barker is here from Design, and I said, today we live in an era that is beset with fragmentation and disruption. It is a world ravaged by rising poverty levels and increasing disparities, depletion of the Earth's resources, and climate change impact. Global warming, greenhouse gas emissions, recurring disasters, climate emergencies, and climate migrants, conflict-impelled refugees, the displaced and the homeless, all require innovative design solutions. To deal with these challenges, we need social activists and eco-champions to fashion humanistic, inclusive environments driven by ecological considerations that would tread lightly on the planet, at the same time fulfill the rights-based unmet needs of those living on the margins. We forget there are so many that are there. The capitalist industrialized world promotes excessive consumption, and in the pursuit of wealth and personal gain, tends to turn a blind eye towards a plethora of ills that afflict our societies, all of us, as well as injustices suffered by the weak and the marginalized. We might do well to hark back to the sayings of ancient Greek philosophers such as Plato, that justice is far more important than the acquisition of wealth. And that, and I quote, excessive wealth disrupts and destroys moral integrity and internal harmony in individuals and societies, unquote. Persons such as myself, belonging to the Global South, who have seen abject poverty, where 50% of the population lives below the poverty line, and being among the vulnerable frontline states that suffer from recurring disasters. For me, the basis of all development must be good design that incorporates climate resilience for the poorest. Over time, I've understood that it is not only the privileged who have a right to enjoy well-designed environments. The disadvantaged And those that live on the margins need more, not less design to achieve a better quality of life. Together, we must develop a framework for a totally changed direction for this damaged entity in architectural practice. A majority of us need to relinquish the desire to create imposing megastructures, which have traditionally been commissioned by the likes of the sophisticated Medicis of Florence, the unscrupulous robber barons of colonial powers, the eco-indulgent merchant princes of industrialized revolution, and the present day's multinationals and tech giants that promote high carbon lifestyles. We are all aware of the damage caused by the colonial industrial-oriented mindset to the Earth's ecosystem due to wasteful and highly consumptive ways of living and building, as well as excessive use of Earth's resources promoted by the unscrupulous capitalist system. Fortuitously, more than at any other time, young architects, as citizens of a changing world, are seeking a divergent course in the practice of architecture. Now, by bestowing the great honor of the Royal Gold Medal on my work in a brave move, the Royal Institute of British Architects, the Prize Committee, and the British monarch have legitimized the path for architects to serve those who live on the borders. They have set a powerful message that architects do not any longer need to vie for the attention of the privileged and the wealthy, but equally be ready to serve humanity. The time has come for a majority of architects and other built environment professionals to play a significant role in healing the planet. On the one hand, that requires that we lower the carbon footprint in all that we create. And on the other, to reach out to serve the vast number of disadvantaged populations. Now, it is ironic that even though belonging to the third world, only after I had brought to a close my career as a successful architect for 36 years, from 2005, recurring disasters in Pakistan forced me to my attention towards the vast marginalized sections of my own country. As a practicing architect, barring a few projects, I also had indulged in an extravagant egotistic journey, which focused on serving the elite of my country. The interaction with poverty-stricken, vulnerable populations forced me to dispense with my hugely inflated ego, as all architects do, obligating me to swallow the bitter pill of humility. Not easy to do that. By sitting at the threshold of the poor, exploring their age-old practices. How have they survived? What have they done? Learning from Pakistan's pre-industrial vernacular heritage, I understood that design is not a standalone activity. It must be underpinned by considerations of social impact and ecological sustainability. Just by working through various disasters that Pakistan has been confronted with, I learned to build by adopting ecologically and socially just methodologies. While my country suffers from many social ills and disadvantages, it also has an array of rich, tangible, intangible, and vernacular heritage, which is an indispensable part of our living and one from which I continue to draw sustenance. As you might be aware, I'm a committed proponent of learning from heritage. I would like to show you a glimpse of the rich heritage that Pakistan possesses. Pakistan is custodian of a diverse heritage ranging from a vast collection of tangible heritage and begins with Bronze Age World Heritage Site of Mohenjo-daro. Then there's Hindu and Buddhist and Sikh remains. There's Sultanate period of 16th century and Mughal period and palaces, gardens, paradisal gardens, and then, of course, the British colonial period. So a whole array of diverse heritage that we have inherited. And this is a cultural legacy not found in many countries. The intangible heritage has shaped the lives of our people, that is all-pervading, and includes Sufi traditions and spiritualism, folklore and folk traditions, oral history, and diverse crafts, many still being practiced by rural women that have been passed on to them from generation to generation, from mother to mother. And then the vernacular heritage, from where I have learned the use of sustainable materials, local sourcing, ease of handling, economical in use, and one that is based on age-old traditions and wisdoms. So now by devising this barefoot social architecture of Baza, I've been able to develop strategies fulfilling the unmet needs of the vast majority in my own country. I found that by focusing on the issue of resilience and sustainability and using locally sourced materials as well as low-impact, low-tech practices through participatory mechanisms, it is possible to develop affordable, climate-resilient rehabilitation, enabling social and ecological justice for climate migrants. That's what the basic challenge for me is today and for my country. So what are the tenets of Baza? Baza is akin to social engineering for bringing about social change, incorporating environmental, cultural, and technical dimensions, resulting in transformation of mindset from a cycle of dependency to a culture of pride and self-reliance. On the one hand, Baza seeks to democratize architecture that provides people with well-being, dignity, and self-esteem. On the other, it unashamedly promotes zero-carbon footprint structures. While working in marginalized communities, I have stumbled upon numerous design opportunities that I never knew existed. And they have been unclaimed before. Nobody has worked on them in the pursuit of fulfilling the exigencies of social and ecological well-being. So I just thought I'd show you this slide. This is something that I researched on and found that UNEP has done all these studies. And you can see the way we build. What are we doing to the environment? The way we are doing our construction today. 40% of all world energy being used by the way we build today. And so many other factors that I think we need to be now very much aware of. So I would like to introduce the 3 materials that I have used in my humanitarian architecture to achieve carbon neutral structures. In the slide, you can see the attributes of such materials as earth, lime, and bamboo. That's all I use. Lime, earth, is a wonderfully versatile material. It's available almost everywhere. Lime is a material that your country, Italy, gifted to the world with the Roman aqueducts and the wonderful alchemy of lime provided in detail by none other than the great master Vitruvius. And bamboo, which sequesters so much carbon that its use makes my structures entirely carbon neutral. So coincidentally, the use of such materials is the very route that needs to be taken if the depletion of the planet's resources are to be forestalled, and if global warming is to be minimized, the route to zero or low ecological footprint. So I just show you an example of a non-engineered structure, zero carbon, built in 2011, and we were able to build about 40,000 of similar structures, and we put Pakistan on the map as zero carbon, largest zero carbon structure program, and between 3 years, basically. And you can see no carbon emissions, no trees were felled, so many villages were, covered, and 300,000 people housed. And there are some more of these examples as to how people build themselves by guidance. And then this particular one is all earth. You can see this Pakistan Chula stove is a world-famous one, which is self-built by rural housewives and has been life-transforming, giving dignity and agency to oppressed women. Architecture can do that too, And then, of course, what I want to present today to you is the Great Deluge, 2020 floods. And you can see what a disaster this has been. And 1/3 of Pakistan was entirely submerged. 33 million people have lost, were displaced completely, lost everything. And adding not to the homelessness, but also adding substantially to the figure of 220 million people estimated to be facing food insecurity and abject poverty around the world. With increasing intensity of disasters As a consequence, today, the number of displaced runs into several millions, as you can see. As we know, since global carbon emissions continue to climb, increasingly climate change is contributing to humanitarian crises and cycles of displacement around the world. It's not only Pakistan, everywhere. So for me, it is paramount that if we wish to repair the planet, simultaneously we should aim for zero poverty. Must do that at the same time. In my view, none of us has a right to sit on any laurels as long as 1 in 10 persons in the world goes hungry every night. At the same time, I believe every disaster is presenting us with the opportunity to aim for zero poverty by creating resilient communities. It is my belief that by my sustainable rehabilitation of millions of those affected can only be met through decolonization and decarbonization of humanitarian assistance. Most of those engaged in the humanitarian field are aware that the international colonial charity model, which treats affected communities as victims and is based on handouts and which operates through clusters or silos, has not provided a sustainable solution. Now, I put it to you that charity, although in good faith, fosters dependency and robs the receiver of self-esteem. Promotion of alien imagery and expensive materials cannot be replaced by the poor. It is culturally, environmentally extremely damaging. Thirdly, lack of appropriate knowledge and tools among communities allows limited access or assistance to be given. Fourthly, women are invariably left behind, even though they are the worst sufferers when the disaster happens or displacement happens. And then lastly, high administrative cost of disbursement aid allows only a fraction to reach affected households. We know that this humanitarianism, which is provided with good intention for providing timely assistance to the displaced, is driven by donor contributions. The funding is controlled by aid-giving agencies through INGOs or NGOs who provide assistance selectively. However, since human living, in my view, is not carried out in silos or compartments, the majority remain vulnerable while their unmet needs remain fulfilled. And so much funding has been spent on this kind of way of doing things. So just wanted to show you what happens when climate change disasters happen. What is the impact? You can see what happens. You become more and more vulnerable every time. Every time a disaster hits, you again have to start from ground zero. It's an impossible state. So on a very large scale now, households, including women and children, face disease, hunger, and homelessness after every disaster becoming more, and as I said, becoming more vulnerable every time. So my effort is to aim for zero poverty by designing disaster preparedness strategies, for example, to avoid displacement, decarbonizing development, utilizing untapped resources, conducting development for the people, by the people. So if you see these guiding principles, I've noted it all down, but it really means that we have to go to the core of the issues and try to see how we can address them. So, and I think the most important thing is designing affordable products using local resources. If we can do that, then we can reach everybody on a really large scale. And then training people from there and getting them to go and help others. And it is really by the people, for the people. It's helping. It's amazing how much progress can be made. It's a kind of humanizing way of working. So then I've devised something called barefoot resource economy. And it's an economic model which fosters decolonized development and humanistic humanitarianism. It's quite opposite to the colonial charity model. It requires that you should rely on people themselves. And so it's all about, barefoot resource economy, and the components, as you can see, are there. Of course, starting off with zero carbon, zero waste, now even zero donor, that I'll explain to you, and then that leads to zero poverty. And you can see all that can be done through this whole process, which is relying on entirely the resources that are available there. And I'll just go very quickly into the detail of this, which is that utilizing available resources, So in developing low-cost, sustainable, and affordable options, there are a host of materials that I found to be abundant and are available for use. And you can see a whole list of them that are available, and that's what I'm doing. Then secondly, how do you bring about pride, self-reliance, and zero charity? No charity is needed. Why should we give people charity? Why can't we develop their own capacities so they can do it themselves? So, so far, we've been able to have about 200,000 chulas built, which are this Pakistan chula stove that I showed you. And no charity or funding, entirely self-built, entirely sustainable, requires no help from outsider except the barefoot entrepreneurs of mine who provide guidance at less than €1. And the ones who provide also are becoming millionaires because the number is so vast. And then everything should be affordable, replicable, sustainable. Got to do it if you want to really do it on a mass scale. And we need to do it on a mass scale now. So you can see that all elements that can be self-built and provide safety and disaster resilience to prevent loss and damage. We must see that whatever is built can sustain any kind of disaster. And we know the disasters that will be coming next year even. And then knowledge sharing and capacity building. Training people from there, going ahead, and they share knowledge with others through a structured system. And that's how everybody starts learning how to take care of themselves. So the basis of scaling to help in the remotest villages is the mechanism of training the local people and in sharing the knowledge. And then utilizing people's strengths. Everywhere you'll find people have so much strength, they can do so much if you just provided them the guidance. You don't need outsiders. You need people from there who will go and help others and teach others. And that way, it can spread like anything. So in our strategy, since a knowledge-sharing mechanism is carried out by the same kind of people as those receiving guidance, the learning occurs at a very fast pace. It is the accompanying attitude of sympathy, solidarity, empathy, and generosity. These are all values that we have learned from the Renaissance times, but somehow been forgotten. And that's made really possible that knowledge sharing could happen among themselves. So I call it by the people, for the people. It's a different kind of strategy. And so if we can just impose these particular kind of tenets, then we can just do it without really seeking much assistance from anywhere else. And anyway, nobody can provide that much assistance because the disaster is so large. How will you help 33 million people? Where will the money come from? So we have to think about what we must do. And then maximizing community strengths. So it's possible to encourage the community coming together. Then I just wanted to very quickly show you the target of 1 million. I want 500,000 families to be rehabilitated every year, 1 million by the end of 2024. And so I designed these two models, the holistic model and the zero donor model. And unfortunately, the holistic model was costing only $150 per family, but there wasn't enough support for it. So I have done this zero donor model. But very quickly, there's this different kind of stages. So this is my holistic model where you get almost everything like basic needs in stage 1. You get food security in stage 2. You get disaster mitigation, and so on and so forth. So really, everything can be done very quickly within about 3 to 4 months. And you can see how the construction of houses will also take place. I mean, it's very quickly. The prefab bamboo construction, that goes very, very fast. They learn quite quickly, and then, they decorate them. They personalize them themselves. So this is how it happens. Every structure becomes unique. And within 5-6 months, you see that the whole thing is flourishing. Everybody has become really self-reliant. So, but then, as I said, we couldn't get enough support. I couldn't get to my target of 1 million in 2024, so I've designed this zero donor model. And this, you can see, I've got some principles in this. I go quickly, but I think I'm probably running short of time. So again, zero carbon, zero waste, zero donor equals zero poverty. That's the main tenet that we follow, and then there's a mission, is how you go about doing it, and so on. And it's all been worked out, and we are following it quite closely. And then how does it happen? I mean, this is the 4 stages, and we can put down the time. It's the people's little resources, their savings, which are very, very meager. They are put together, and somehow they manage to go from one stage to the other to the other. And you can see how the stages have been worked out. There's quite a lot of work going on in this way, and I think we'll be able to meet our targets. So you can see the change makers. So many families, women, men, all are working away. All are improving their lives because they've got the guidance how to do it. And this is my barefoot brigades, the core competency. Each one has about 25 more people in its tow, and they are now earning, as you can see, 50,000 rupees, or is it 160 euros per month, which is a princely sum for people who had nothing just a few years ago. And then this is what happened with the barefoot entrepreneurs. After they're trained in a very systematic manner. Their SOPs, their drawings, they're taught what to do because they must learn to build safe buildings, and they are doing that by themselves. And so there we are. These are the ingredients. Then there's a human resource for self-building. So you can see everybody knows there are local techniques, local things, local materials, and we are maximizing all the strength of local people as to how they can do it. So it's materials that exist, that are there, and they can give you very safe habitat the way you design it. That's where you need good architects to design well. If they are not there, then, of course, you lose it. And then you can see there are so many natural resources. All kinds of resources are available, and nobody has looked at them, from debris to all kinds of straws and waste of all kinds that can be used. And that is what gives me this very economical way of building. And there's water, there's ponds that are lying without anything. So food security is number 1 for us, because that's a big issue. How do you make them food secure, first of all? So we're using everything possible. And then there are lots of the waste, so many resources, as I mentioned earlier as well. So you can see how much there are. And then community strengths, generosity, cooperation, readiness to learn. There's so much that is there. And they do it. They all help each other. And then intangible reserves, traditional skills, innovative use of common materials, ownership through creativity, age-old crafts, what have you. There's just so much that is there that we use. And you put it all together, it's a kind of such a rich palette that you really don't need anything else. It takes time. You have to rely on them. They have to save those little bits every day, like 50 rupees a day, which is 1/6 of a euro, or 100 rupees a day, which is 1/3 of a euro. That's what they're saving to be able to make their own structures, and they go from one stage to the other, from food security to their basic needs, toilets, one-room houses, then go on to even forestation, land regeneration, trying to save themselves from floods. So these are my women, always in the lead. They're the ones who take on with determination, and they're the ones then organize, and they're able to get it done. But men are not sidelined. They're there too, but women are always the ones who go forward, because they are the ones who need privacy. They're the ones who need dignity. They're the ones who need a better lifestyle for their families and themselves. So they're the ones who will always go forward with doing everything. And then this is a slide I thought I'd show you. I don't know whether you can see what's going on here. Basically, there's quite a lot of funding that's being generated by people who had their savings, and now it was not in the economy, but now it's become part of that local economy. So altogether, because so much has been built already, so many 200,000 families we've reached already, which is 1.4 million people. And already, just by paying to get to understand or know how to do things, they paid enormous amounts. I don't know whether you can read the figures, but I think they're all converted into euros. So you can see that gradually how much more the whole thing has become. And then now the houses are being built, so there's more and more money coming into circulation that nobody knew. And then there's a whole economy that's now beginning to really flourish. And everybody is now being able to earn something or the other. So we estimate that approximately 1330 million or 4.38 million euros would have been brought into circulation, which was entirely untapped. Nobody knew it existed. So my last slide, implement 4 zeros. 0 carbon, 0 waste, 0 donor, or then make it at least low cost, which leads to 0 poverty, for saving the planet and saving humanity through humanistic humanitarianism using barefoot resource economy economic model. Thank you so much. I'm most grateful. Thank you.